Hello, Lark students. This is Deanna from UPS, and I'm here to read you a story today. Some Dog by Mary Casanova and Arch Hoyt. George had a good life. When the woman read the newspaper, George had a place to rest his weary head. When the man chopped the wood, George studied 1,000 cents in the air. And when they went fishing, George, who couldn't swim, rode in the middle, steady and still. "You are some dog," said the woman. "Some dog," said the man. But one day another dog arrived. Everything changed. "He must be a stray," said the woman. "He looks like he's here to stay," said the man. "Row!" cried George. "Row, row!" Like a jackrabbit, the stray leaped back and forth. Yap, yip, 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 yip. Then he zipped around the room 3 times. "What a lively dog," said the woman. "Let's call him Zippity," said the man. When the newspaper arrived, Zippity snatched it, flew over the couch, and dropped it at the woman's feet. Good dog. And when the man chopped wood, Zippity backflipped and caught the sticks in midair. Amazing. And when the man and the woman went back to the corner store, Zippity ran ahead with the grocery list. And when they arrived, the shop owner had the groceries packed and ready to go. What a dog. And when they all went fishing, Zippity jumped from George's back, from the lap, until he caught a fish and swam to shore. That Zippity is some dog. And then at dinner, George was too tired to try to beg for food. At bedtime, he was exhausted, but Zippity snored zeep, zeep, zeep in his sleep. One day, George smelled rain on the wind. Before long, thunder grumbled. It boomed and clanged and rumbled. George didn't mind. But with each clap of thunder, Zippity ran in crazy circles. He blinked, he chewed, he dashed, and crashed until finally, out! And as the rain pounded down and the wind shook the trees, then a boom, a clack, a clang, Zippy was gone. "He'll get lost. It's a terrible storm," but George thumped his tail. At last he'd have his bed all to himself. "George," begged the woman, "go find Zippity." George stretched and groaned. "Come on, George," the man pleaded. "Here, George," the woman said. "Smell this." George studied Zippity's blanket. If there was one thing George could do, it was follow a smell. Through whipping wind and needle rain, George led the way. Nose to the ground, he sniffed and he twitched and he snorted. He smelled 1,000 scents, but followed only one. Past a farmhouse in shambles, a clothesline, thorny brambles, George tracked the scent. When the man and the woman turned back, George pressed on, following his nose. Up steep steps and down he went to the top of the seesaw, to the ground again. Along a slippery trail, over a rotted pine, down through the valley, the swampy, murky mire, George kept going until his nose led him to a shaking, shivering, wet and quaking Zippity. Stuck in the thick, oozing mud, Zippity whimpered, Zippity whined, he twisted and turned, he wiggled and churned, but the harder he tried to reach the bank, the deeper he sank. Whoa! George cried. Then George stretched himself across the log. He grabbed Zippy's collar and he held fast, and steady, steady and slow, George tugged and pulled and pulled and tugged until out Zippity popped. Yip, 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 yip. The dogs touched noses, and then George led the way. He sniffed and he snorted, whiffed and sniffed, followed the trail through the murky pines, over the rotted log, down a slippery slide, until... "It's Zippity," they cried. "You found him. Oh, George, you are some dog, our dog." And from that day on, George and Zippity got along just fine. George always had a place to rest his weary head. Every day, he studied 1,000 cents in the wind. And when they went fishing, George rode in the middle, steady and still. And at nights, George didn't mind sharing, even in his sleep. Zip, zip, zip. The end.